Monster Melee! Gorgon versus
Rust monsters.
Can the iron-plated Gorgon take down a horde of rust monsters before they reduce it to a pile of rust? Can it crush them and petrify them with its breath before it crumbles into a harmless lump? We are about to find out. Welcome to Monster Melee, ladies and gentlemen. This is an epic clash, a struggle of savagery between D&D creatures. And as always, I am your commentator and game master, Esper. I'm glad to have you here with me. For today's matchup, we have the Gorgon, at least what D&D calls a Gorgon, against 7 rust monsters. And for today's battle arena, we have Cena Cavern. This is the newest map on my Patreon page. That's Esper the Bard on patreon.com. Go check it out. The link is down in the video description. You can get access to all kinds of monthly content, newsletters, maps, things that will enrich your RPG campaigns. And let's take a look at today's matchup. So first of all, we have the Gorgon. It is a large monstrosity, unaligned, challenge rating of 5. Its armor class is 19, hit points of 114, and a speed of 40 feet. Its strengths are a high AC, 19 is quite good due to these natural iron plates that grow on its body. It also has a high strength and high constitution scores. It has a trampling charge ability where if it charges in at least 20 feet and hits with a gore attack with its horns, it can potentially knock down or knock prone the target and then trample it with its hooves. It'd have advantage on its hooves melee attack. It also has a petrifying breath. It's like a 30-foot cone of gas. All of the creatures in that area make constitution saves. If they fail, they become partially petrified and restrained. Then at the end of their next turn, they repeat that save, and if they fail again, they are completely petrified and turned to stone. That breath is on a recharge roll of 5 through 6 on a d6. The main weakness in this battle is that the Gorgon's natural armor and natural weapons are made of iron. It does also have a low intelligence score, but that's not really a huge weakness here. The rust monsters have the same issue. Then we have the rust monsters. They are also monstrosities. They're medium size, also unaligned. Their challenge rating is a lot lower. It's 1/2. Their armor class is 14, hit points of 27, also a speed of 40 feet. Strengths, they have this iron scent, so they can detect and pinpoint ferrous metals. The range on that's just 30 feet, so not super far, but it's plenty enough for the scenario at hand. And they have their 2 signature traits, the rust metal and the antennae. Rust metal means when a non-magical metal weapon hits the rust monster, it's going to suffer a cumulative -1 penalty on damage rolls. Once that gets to -5, the weapon is just completely broken and turned to rust. Then there's the antennae. That is like the active version of that same effect, where the rust monster actually targets an object made of metal with the antennae. The Gorgon is ambling through this shadowy and mysterious cave, looking for patches of giant lichen to feast upon. It's rather hungry. It goes sniffing about, but there is something else here sniffing about, and they have caught the scent of the iron-plated Gorgon. It is a horde or a pack of rust monsters, and they hungrily are converging on the bovine-like Gorgon. Let's roll for initiative here, everyone. I'm excited to see how this plays out. I really think it's anyone's game, and we'll see how it goes. Looks like we've got 5 of the rust monsters, then the Gorgon, then 2 more rust monsters. So the Gorgon didn't do so great on the initiative. All right, we start off with rust monster number 1, who's going to skitter toward the Gorgon. Let's say we'll go maybe to there and like cautiously approach with a dodge. I think the others will do much the same here. They're just starting to creep closer to this prey, sizing it up, trying to get within where they can go and move in and start using their antennae on it on their next turns. Well, we got that one to there, and we'll just say they've all moved up their speed and used dodge. Move on to the Gorgon. Well, it's feeling quite threatened. And it's going to breathe out its petrifying gas in a cone. We'll say first it's going to move into there, so the cone can affect these 3 here. So they're going to roll some constitution saving throws. This is Rust Monsters 3, 4, and 7. So we're looking at an 8, Also an 8 and a 16. So Rust Monsters 3 and 4 have failed. They are restrained from partial petrification. And then Rust Monster 7 really is just no worse for the wear. And the Gorgon, I think will do some repositioning because it does not want to get boxed in with this pack of Rust Monsters descending upon it. Rust Monster number 6, I believe, is going to do that, probably the move and the dodge thing as well. And we'll do the same for Rust Monster number 2. We'll try to cut off the Gorgon down this way. They're not very intelligent. I think they're just going to try to stay kind of close to each other, feeling safe in a pack. All right, on to round 2. We start off with Rust Monster number 1, and it's going to close in here. The Gorgon makes a dexterity saving throw, trying to evade these hairy, long antennae that are whipping out from the forehead of the Rust Monster, and it has rolled rather poorly. It actually has a +0 on a dexterity modifier. So there is one hit, and its AC has gone down to 18. Oh, it does not like that. Rust Monster number 4 is partially petrified. It's restrained from that, can't move. So we'll just say that at the end of its turn, it's going to redo its Constitution saving throw. And it got a 15. That's good enough. It's a DC 13 on that con save for the Petrifying Breath. Rust Monster 5 moves into there, and it is going to use its antennae as well. And the Gorgon will make the dexterity saving throw, which it also rolls not good at all, and its AC has now gone down to 17. Rust Monster number 3, at the end of its turn, will repeat the Constitution saving throw against the partial petrification. More than good enough, in fact. And Rust Monster number 7 is going to skitter here about, and the Gorgon will roll the dexterity saving throw, rolling not good. The Gorgon's dex saves have actually been pretty bad so far, so its AC is now at 16. If it gets down to 10, that's really as low as it can get. That would mean all of the iron plates have just been eaten away, just corroded away entirely. All right, start of the Gorgon's turn. Check the recharge roll. A 3 is not going to do it. Let's see. I just double-checked the Gorgon's save DC on that Petrifying Breath, and indeed it is 13, though I'm not quite sure where that number is coming from. By my calculations, it should be 15. 8 for the base DC number, 3 from the proficiency bonus as a CR5, and 4 from its Constitution modifier, so I don't know. Also, those 2 Rust Monsters up there that were partially petrified, they do not have dodge active. You cannot be dodging while your speed is 0, and they didn't do their save until the end of their turn. Well, the Gorgon definitely does not want to be trapped in here and getting cornered by a bunch of Rust Monsters. Probably going to have to take some opportunity attacks to reposition. Let's see if we can get lucky on a recharge roll on its next turn. If not, it might look into doing some trampling charge. All right, and it's going to head on over there, and we'll go to Rust Monster number 6, which is the one up here. Let's say it will move like such and do dodge, and Rust Monster number 2 is going to do a similar type of thing, or can it actually move in and do antennae? It sure can. Moves into there, uses its antennae, and the Gorgon's dexterity saving throw hopefully is not trash this time. It has rolled good and evades the antennae of Rusty Doom. On to round number 3. Rust Monster number 1 has made it to there. It will remain cautious with a dodge, and Rust Monster number 4 is going to do much the same. 5 comes over there and uses dodge. 3 makes it to there and dodges, and 7 is like such. The hungry Rust Monsters always fiending for ferrous metals. Their trepidation about the massive bull-like monstrosity is only superseded by their great hunger for the metal. The Gorgon about faces. Checks the recharge and unfortunately rolls quite miserably, and I think it is going to do a trampling charge. It might actually back up and then come charging at this one right in front of it. So it'll provoke an opportunity attack in doing so. It's like a bite attack for +3, 16. And the Gorgon's AC currently is 16, so it's going to be taken 8 piercing damage. Also, a big thank you to a commenter, Drew and Dragons, who recommended to me this handy module for Foundry VTT called Always HP, so I can actually just update HP down in this handy little box here. So -8 hit points to the Gorgon. So what does it did? It backed up like 20 feet, and then it moves forward 20 feet. So it got itself some space to come in, and it bears down upon Rust Monster number 2, first with a gore attack, and does not roll great. It has a +8 to hit, only an AC of 14 on the Rust Monsters, but just rolled low. Rust Monster 6 will come here. It can't quite get close enough to use its antennae, just a 5-foot range on that, but it will ready the antennae. And Rust Monster 2, who is right there, will swipe out with the antennae, and the Gorgon will make a dexterity saving throw, coming up with a 15 and evading that. On to round number 4. Rust Monster 1 gets in there and swipes out with its antennae. The Gorgon's dex save is not good enough with an 8, and its AC is down to 15. So it's already lost 4 points of AC. Rust Monster 4 will go there and continue with a dodge. Number 5, can it get in there? Yeah, it can kind of fit itself in just like that. And the Gorgon makes a dex save against its antennae, and nat 1, oh my. AC is now at 14, the same as the Rust Monsters. Monster number 3 will go there, continue with a dodge. Rust Monster 7 is back here. Can it even get to the Gorgon? I don't think it can. We'll say that it's got a readied antennae usage. Back to the Gorgon, makes a recharge roll, really hoping for a recharge there. Just can't get it. So I think the Gorgon's going to do another repositioning round. It really wants to recharge. That would have been awesome. He could have probably gotten the petrifying breath on all of them, or at least 5 or 6 of them. So it looks like there's going to be 3 opportunity attacks. That's not great, but he still has a lot of hit points. So there are 3 bite attacks. And remember, its AC is only a 14 at the moment. 17, 8, and 8, so there is 1 hit. And it's going to be taking a total of 9 damage. Gorgon still has a pretty good pool of hit points there. All right, so it goes running down that way, trying to outmaneuver or somehow get away from this pack of Rust Monsters. Rust Monster number 6 will cautiously skitter into here and use dodge. Number 2 will do much the same. On to round 5, Rust Monster 1 I think is also following suit. It will go back like that. Rust Monster 4 gets into there, and number 3 is also adding itself into the mix. And number 7, just cautiously trying to see where the Gorgon went to. Where is their meal running off to? Well, the Gorgon is there, and really, really hoping for a recharge roll and a nat 1. All right, so what I've done here is I've advanced things by 1 round. It was just a round of movement with the Gorgon and the Rust Monsters all using dash. They're all hungrily pursuing their target. They've been doing quite well, really been kind of dominating in this fight. I've also decided to turn off the names of the Rust Monsters. It was just too cluttery. It was too busy. Sometimes I like having all the names displayed, and sometimes it just doesn't look so good. So we're on round 6. We're starting the Gorgon's turn here, and the Rust Monsters are getting closer. They've been pursuing it through these shadowy tunnels. And does not get the recharge on the petrifying breath. Maybe it never will. Well, the Gorgon has found the giant lichen that it was looking for, but now is not the time for it to eat, because things are trying to eat it, or at least eat the metal from its body, which is all of its outer surface. The pack of Rust Monsters are hungrily pursuing it, so we'll say there is another round's passage of dash actions. I think eventually the Gorgon is going to reach a tricky spot where it has to be squeezing, or it might get stuck or find a dead end. Let's see what happens. So back to the Gorgon's turn. Gets the recharge roll as the hungry Rust Monsters are in hot pursuit. Cannot recharge that breath for the life of it. It is now making its way into this kind of sloping tunnel, and it sees here, it's in a dash, it sees here that it gets low enough now to actually get into some water. Starts wading out into this cave water. There is a flooded tunnel just up ahead, and the Rust Monsters are eagerly pursuing, always smelling, always sensing, always hungering. They're gonna go to there. I think I have to rearrange a couple here. There we go. Don't want Rust Monsters ending up inside the walls. And that brings us to round 8. All right, Gorgon, you are about ready to hit a really bad spot here, and still cannot recharge the petrifying breath. Wades through the water. It's difficult terrain, and now difficult terrain plus squeezing as it goes into this flooded tunnel. Oh my, really cannot make it very far at all, and it's got this desperate flight, now slowing down to a rough, squeezing crawl as the chittering monstrosities come hoarding after it through the dark tunnels. They are coming for you, Gorgon. All right, so they can make it to there with just their movement. It's not squeezing here, but they're not quite close enough. I think their confidence is pretty well bolstered that they go ahead and just go for it and do dashes to get as close as possible. So the Gorgon is just trapped into this flooded tunnel with rust monsters about ready to start crawling all over it and reducing it down to a pile of rust, and we grow it around 9. Gorgon checks the recharge and the petrifying breath. It gets it this time. About faces. It exhales a cloud of a yellowish green gas upon all of the rust monsters. Rust Monster 1 has failed, 6 failed, 4 succeeded, 2 failed, 7 failed, 3 succeeded, and 5 failed. So 5 out of 7 Rust Monsters are now partially petrified. So it's just these 2 right here, Rust Monsters 4 and 3, that are not partially petrified. The Gorgon, in its great trepidation, backs up and shoves itself and squeezes back a bit through this flooded tunnel. These 2 in the front are going to attack with disadvantage, making bites as opportunity attacks. So the first one's got a nat 3, not going to hit, and the second one is nat 17, that'll do it. All right, the bite damage that we're looking at is max, there's 9, but still the Gorgon just has so many hit points that these tiny little nickels and dimes are just mere nicks. That's basically all it can really do with its speed. It's just so slowed, squeezing and wading through this water that's like getting ever deeper. We go to Rust Monster 6. I'll go ahead and check its save now, and if it gets petrified, then it doesn't matter what it did on its turn. 10 is not going to do it, and this frontmost Rust Monster is now a statue. And Rust Monster number 2, go ahead and check its con save now as well, instead of, oh my, there's a nat 2. It has petrified. Tide might be turning, Rust Monsters. I realized I actually had those icons switched around, but I got them switched correctly. And now it's actually this Rust Monster number 1's turn. So we will check again its con save now before wasting time talking about actions. That is going to be good enough. Okay, so what action did it choose? Probably would have readied the antennae. It's just feeling out, trying desperately to get at that Gorgon that's in this shadowy, flooded tunnel. Rust Monster 4 is one that is not partially petrified. It will go ahead, wading through, really it's probably kind of swimming through this water. It's just a medium-sized creature, and it will reach out with its antennae like so many hungry little fingers. This is going to be a dex save with disadvantage for the Gorgon as it is squeezing there. Nope, nat 11 is not going to do it. Its AC is going down to 13. Ruddy, fell oxidization is spreading in patches all across the body, all across the surface of the Gorgon, and it's starting to weep out these like angry red sores, maybe even bleeding some. Its very skin, its very hide is being corroded away, stripped and eaten away from its body. It is in great anguish. Rust Monster 5 will roll the con save for that one straight away. Looking at a nat 4, it has petrified as well. Rust Monster 3, not partially petrified. It's in the back, though. It's going to have to be kind of like crawling around statues of allies and squeezing through there and going through water. I'm going to say it's going to dash to like kind of get itself lodged up in there. And now it's, ready for its next turn to try to prey upon the Gorgon. And the final one is Rust Monster 7. We will re-roll the con save. A 10 is not going to do it, and we have another Rust Monster statue here in Cena Cavern. So coming back to the Gorgon's turn, it's actually managed to petrify 4 out of 7 of the Rust Monsters. That's pretty fantastic. It would be awesome if it got another recharge here. Nope, it does not. So I think it's going to... It could attack at disadvantage. It could try to continue on, and I'll just do kind of a DM check to see what's down there. Actually, I don't have to do that. On the map, the GM notes of this map, it says that this tunnel leads to a completely submerged, like a fully underwater tunnel and chamber. So that would be like drowning death for this Gorgon. So really, it's just between a rock and a hard place, and is going to have to try to fight its way out and maybe hope to get a recharge again. All right, so it's going to attack Rust Monster number 3 with disadvantage using its Gore. Nat 11 is certainly going to hit, so that's good news. Pretty good amount of damage on this. It's a 2d12 plus 5. There's 22 damage. And 22 knocks a rust monster down to just a tiny little sliver of its hit points. That does corrode, however, the horns of the Gorgon. So the horns now have a -1 on the damage. So plus 4 now on that damage instead of plus 5. We're on to round 11. Rust monster 1 is there. It will squeeze into there and use its antennae. The Gorgon is going to make the dexterity saving throw. We're looking at only an 8. Ugh. Its AC is down to a mere 12, so really just 2 more failures and it's down to AC of 10, and it will have lost all of its skin, essentially. I don't think it would die just straight away. Maybe the rust monsters would kind of instinctually, skitter off to wait for it to die. It, maybe would take a little bit of time, and then they'll, go throughout the place, eating up all the rust that's scattered about. Rust monster 4 stretches out its eager tentacle-like antennae, and there is a success on the dex save for the Gorgon, a glimmer of hope. Rust monster 3 uses its antennae. This is the last one before back to the Gorgon's turn. Oh, a desperate hope. Oh, only a nat 9 is down to AC of 11. All right, Gorgon, I'm rooting for you. Well, it's your turn, so I'm rooting for you. If it's a rust monster's turn, I'll root for the rust monster. Recharge check is a failure. It will go ahead and do a gore attack against the already wounded one. Rolls with disadvantage due to the squeezing, and that is still going to be good. Nat 15, excellent. That's totally going to take out that rust monster. We're looking at, what is that? 21 goring damage, 21 piercing damage. He skewers the thing, thrashes its lifeless body back through the tunnel, and it is dead. All right, on to rust monster number 1 on round 12. Here we go, Gorgon. I just realized you should be rolling the dex saves with disadvantage. Oops. All right, here we go. Dex save with disadvantage. Nat 8, of course, is not going to do it, and his AC is completely stripped away. It's a horrific sight. The Gorgon just raw, aching underskin and flesh and sinew, and just oozing out pus and blood. The rust monster is going to try to skitter away. That will provoke an opportunity attack from the Gorgon. Rolls a disadvantage due to the squeezing and kind of terrible state it's in. Nat 2 is certainly not going to do it. And the rust monster will make it out to thereabout. Rust monster number 4. I guess technically the horns and the hooves still have some iron on them, but I'm not really going to mess with that. I think the rust monsters just want to get out of here and let the thing kind of die off. So it'll do a dash. All right, so that rust monster number 4 is going to make it up to there, back onto this rocky slope. So I have to make kind of a DM call here. How should I play this out? Maybe the Gorgon at the end of each of its turns must make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw, and on a failure, it suffers a level of exhaustion, and that's just going to continue until it exhausts out and collapses. Just for kicks, I'll go ahead and do the recharge roll. Oh my gosh, I got the recharge on the petrifying breath. Shaking, staggering, anguishing, the Gorgon pulls itself to there with its hooves, what's left of its iron hooves, and unleashes petrifying gas. Let's see how far out this cone will get to. Oh, I think that's actually enough for both of them, you don't say. Rust monster number 1 makes a Constitution saving throw, and it fails. Rust monster 4 makes its con save, and it succeeds. We're in round 13. I'll go ahead and roll the con save at the end of Rust monster 1's turn. And it actually succeeded. So on its turn, we'll say it ready to dash. That makes sense. The thing is struggling to be able to move and to get away. So at the end of its turn, it breaks free of this stony doom that is creeping up its body and shakes away the pebbles and gets up onto the slope. So that's enough. I think I'll call it right there. The Gorgon, some minutes from now, maybe half an hour from now or something, it eventually just collapses in an exhausted heap and is just going to slowly die out. And then the remaining rust monsters are really going to have a feast, just an absolute smorgasbord as they go picking through this cave for the rust that's been scattered all about and the last few bits of iron parts like horn tips and hoof tips on the carcass of the Gorgon. This turned out to be a pretty brutal and kind of a freaky fight. The rust monsters have this kind of scariness to them and an unsettling, unnerving quality, and I can see why. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and an extra special thank you to everyone who is a supporter of mine over on Patreon. In particular, Lucas Mesmo, Adam Wood, Nick Thy Pirate King, Jared Primont, Locke, Nicholas A., Technicolor Shale, Robert Brescini, and Ben R. You guys are awesome, and you really help make this channel everything that it is. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you in another video. I'm gonna have some different types of videos coming out here within like a month or two, so be on the lookout for those as well. And as always, may your adventures be many.